Hello there and welcome to another Stompy 51 miniature adventure. Today we're going to have a quick rummage through my little night goblin collection, which I've been collecting over a few years now, on and off, just enough for a bit of a skirmish game, and my efforts to rescue and revive them, because they are all utterly gorgeous, from the netters to the squig hunters to the crazed night goblin ball and chain loons. And I was pleasantly surprised to see that there are indeed many more of these night goblin champions and wizards and little infantrymen than I quite remember. So I was really quite chuffed to get a fair few of these in various online swaps, albeit they're not all, or they weren't all, in the best of all possible states. But that didn't stop me. Here we go. Predictably, they came out pretty well, because if you think about it, we're talking about the newer Gloomspite Gitz bits of plastic with, their first historical iterations as Gloomspite Gitz, aka the Night Goblins. So that little bit of ball came from the newish Mangler Squig kit, and you've got that kind of beautiful late 80s simplicity with, the greater malleability, if that's the word, of the newer plastics. So that one worked out well. I just stuck on some bases. I mean, what I'm going to use all these for is probably in games of like Dragon Rampant, because I've got an inordinate amount of squigs. And I suppose what I'll do, they come in units of 6, little critters, whatever they're called in Dragon Rampant. And so I'll take 5 of the squigs and stick 1 of these into each group so that they look like they are actually being herded. So, but I think, so netters. I think netters are something different. I think they were stuck at the beginning, at the front lines of a unit to kind of reduce the weapon skill of the people attacking them. But as far as I'm concerned, these all look perfectly aligned towards running after toothy creatures. So if you remember the image of him coated in paint, he looks particularly hopeless, but he looks pretty good with that little bit from one of the many little banner bearers that I have from the Battle of Skull Pass kit, because someone once gave me, about 20 years ago, they just gave me all of their night goblins because they didn't want them at all. And they were pretty good models. And they've got loads of little good bits that can be kind of snipped off. And they were pretty good as well. I was really impressed with them at the time. If you want a bit of a horde, they're great. But the annoying bit always was having to scrape off the mold line over there. But yeah, that at some point will be cut off, no doubt. That ball was a leftover ball from some of the ball and chain fanatics, the last Night Goblin sprue kit, but that has now been discontinued. Again, it's a bit close to the fist, but again, would you have noticed that? It was quite a big hole, so I drilled a hole in his hand with a drill bit. I can only ever go 2 or 3 mils into metal. I find it hard to go further than that. Obviously, you can go as far as you want into a piece of plastic. This one didn't even need that because it had a hole at the bottom, and I just stuck a gunch, if that's a word, stuck a little clump of green stuff into the hole so that it would more securely fasten around the bit of paper clip. So that bit on its face looked like a really cool thing to stick onto the wand of one of these night goblin wizards, but the thing is, it didn't have a clean break-off point. So you'd have one type of wood and then another type of wood, and it wouldn't look quite right because my sculpting isn't really up to kind of cutting it along that alignment. But maybe it's something I could work towards. Maybe actually something which even my green stuffing could sort, because you could maybe sort of make that bit of cloak of the little evil puppet, the only part that's kind of squared off, and then that would give a clean line. But anyway, I found this stuck to one of the banner boys, which I thought was pretty good. And much more in keeping, seeing this is all about the bad moon. I do need to remove that mold line. and he's quite a big model compared to the others. But again, that principle of varying sized goblins and varying sized orcs has always been pretty core to this, which is useful for reasons I will come on to shortly. What else have we got in this? So I'm not sure what to do with this squig. I might just stick one of those transparent kind of flying bases on it, because, you know, they do go boing and they do sort of leap. But the thing is, I've got so many of those already. I'm not sure I'm fussed by it. I might get rid of it. These couple of squigs are part of what I swapped for. I mean, all of these were very recently swapped for. I never had any of these historically. And I've been happily swapping things I don't really want for things that I would more obviously want. And so that gives you a bit of a comparison with an unbroken night goblin. And these are the same model, aren't they? And there's another one. Do I bother stripping this fellow? I think I might bother stripping them, because I found this method of just dumping them in Dettol to be quite effective, if you remember not to mix water with it. It leads to the paint mixing with the Dettol, so the paint mixing with the Dettol and water and creating some kind of horrible painty gunge which you can't get off anything. But it's fine if you just keep scrubbing it in the Dettol. This particular kind of grouping, I think there's a couple of these models I've always thought are just beautiful little gems and really great fun. And I've always wanted to get my hands on one. So I'll put a few rocks and foliage to kind of make the base look a bit more equally spaced out. Little skull attached to his wee willy winky little hat. And so they'll all be part of chasing the little squiggies around. Yes, I've got a couple of these scythes, these Asterix Getafix type scythes, in case I have any more coming my way. And what are these going to be doing? They're going to be mixed and matched with my existing Harlequin miniatures, Night Goblins by Kev Adams. I mean, they do look slightly different and they are bigger and chunkier, but as mentioned, you know, these things can be different sizes, and not all of them are different sizes. You know, he's definitely in scale, I suppose, in keeping with the bigger the guy, the more magic and power and localized authority they come with. And there's Skarsnik. I have already got one of these guys in my collection, and you'll see I didn't go wild in how I painted them. I've forgotten the name of the Games Workshop contrast paint, but that's what I would just do for all of these. You know, it would be contrast paint for the cloak. I think the skin does need to be some kind of proper green, and then that's it. The rest of it is just kind of weapons and metals. So I hope they will kind of merge together as one big happy goblin family. And actually, you know, in terms of scale, they do look broadly in keeping. And to the extent they're not, these are, I suppose, the big uns. What else have I got in here? I think I have shown these off before, so I'm not going to go too wild at showing them. There's an unpainted Kev Adams Night Goblin by Harlequin Miniatures. And yeah, I mean, they broadly look similar. These look a bit more kind of gritty and Lord of the Ringsy, I guess. But what's wrong with that? And then, apropos of nothing, because it was a subsequent swap, I've got a whole bucket load of dwarves, which I've been slowly collecting for years, and I don't think I've used yet, which is slightly shameful, but they're going to be Kings of War, and these can be added to the Slayer unit. Alasot for quite a lot. What is it? A sister of Sigmar? Matriarch of the Sisters of Sigmar, and she'll be part of my crazed Middle Ages group of religious fanatics, following in the ways of Sigmar, which are largely fanatics. What are they called? Flagellants, with some priests, and then various engineering pieces of equipment, like cannon and possibly a steam tank, with more of a kind of religious bent. And she'll be on the sidelines there, cheering them all on. Sidelines, I say, but look at that double-handed axe. She'll be right in the middle, swinging it for Sigmar. And just on the subject of swinging it for Sigmar, before someone actually reports us to Human Resources, I think we'll call it there for today. Sorry for the crackly voice. My health hasn't been great for the last couple of weeks, but I'm on the up. And I have actually been painting something, which I will show another time. Please do like, comment, and subscribe in the usual way. Help me boost my spirits at this health low point. Well, I exaggerate. But either way, keep well, keep safe, and you'll see me soon.